Chapter 5. Root had broken the first and most immutable navigation rule. Do not lose your shit. But she was being overwhelmed on every level and in every conceivable way. So, not totally her fault? The sudden arrival of a giant alien spaceship? Check. Intense strobing visuals and booming thunder? Yes. Completely soaked to the bone by freezing rainwater? Yep. That was in her card as well. Maybe she should check out now and, oh wait, 3 fiercely independent, argumentative, and freaked out familiars to wrangle? Affirmative and, damn it. And all these factors were intensifying and speeding up the snips and splices of her linear temporal perception. Simultaneously, her subconscious kept trying to throw in images of home. Casa opening the front door, hugging Root, caring for her as only a mother can. Fresh, warm, dry clothes. A fridge to raid. All the pot-shot incentives from Root's dopamine-infused, pleasure-seeking brain. But none of it was helping her navigate. So she willfully denied the indulgence and forced her mind and body to embrace the suck. Meanwhile, Fella was barking and biting at the air, not knowing which direction Root might veer next. Just then, Root experienced a time skip, so physiologically jarring she almost passed out. Re-emerging in mid-run, her shaky, sweaty fingers had just grazed the top of her gnome. Unconsciously, she pivoted like an ice skater and banked into the turn that emptied onto the trail. Arms pumping, Root avoided the hidden depths of every shallow-looking yet ankle-breaking mudhole. A slightly detached part of her ego marveled at what she was accomplishing in real time. No slips, falls, wasted motion, or energy. Like a damn cheetah. Now Root was in an all-out sprint. Fella staying a few yards ahead to spot danger. It was just her against that, well, whatever it was up there, hurtling lightning bolts like a petulant deity. At the same time, Root's backpack had moved bracing with all 4 legs, ears back. The jostling pack shook her angry frame, mixing up a rainwater and Felis Catus martini. The sideways rain had made it through the mesh windows, soaking and shrinking her like a miniature greyhound. I must live, if for nothing else but to torment the dog another day, Moo reasoned stoically, as she squinted through the hectic screen at the chaos around her. As the 3 ground crew dealt with mud and gravity, Nips was busy dodging lightning strikes and collecting whatever intel she could. Root had named her Nips because she continuously stole tiny pieces of the 10 ever since she could hop. Well, actually snagging little nips of lots of stuff. Tinsel, paper clips, spare change. But yeah, mainly the sacred herbs that had transformed her into a mighty medicine raven, a navigator. And Root had suspected, as of late, possibly the first flying Utcham. Sure, specific ingredients, like the mushrooms, were avoided. But others shot her little birdie eyes wide, making Nips brace against her perch with a wobbly, shaky wingtip. So when Root had finally caught her thieving herbs, she laid her whole satchel out, Tomisaburo Wakayama style, and let Nips choose her own fate. Harper and Root had often argued over whether Nips was destined to become a navigator, or had taken up the path by free will alone. But while they academically debated the origin of Nips' powers, she was busy dodging hawks with supernatural precognition and meditating mid-flight. Her only fundamental limitation was her weight class and that pesky no opposable thumbs thing. Like right now, for instance, when Nips couldn't physically help with the scene below, and that scene was currently no bueno. Root felt bogged down in dilated time, as each step demanded more energy from her drained body and mind. Plus, the sedative nature of the soul shield was rapidly overpowering the energetic qualities of the cactus resin and twig. And, unlike the thunder, the white noise of rain on a million leaves was soothing and alluring to Root's troubled mind. Nips could sense all this. Root might stall out, give up, and drown in the muck and mire. If only she could somehow cause Root to bilocate. It might keep her alert enough to make it home in one piece. The problem was, Nips had never tried that before. It had always been Root asking first, then hitchhiking inside Nip's body once she had permission. But that's what generals do, make the hard calls. So, squinting against the pelting rain, Nips pulled in her wings and flipped onto her back. She shot down towards the top of the jet-black starcraft, in a tucked dive position, the wind threatening to spin her out of control. In the 10 space, between now and when she would hopefully pull out of the dive, Nips let out a harmonic rattle and tried to push Root into her being. Hearing that sound, Root blinked, and when her sluggish eyelids opened again, she was flying dangerously close to the strange ship, gliding a few feet above the cosmic dust-tempered weather deck. Root scanned the hole through Nip's eyes, all the while still in full stride with Fella. There were sensors and recording devices all over the craft, millions of spider eyes, cat whiskers, dog noses, and bat ears. It knew Nips was there, like a fly pestering a horse. And despite the micro-weapons that turned like swiveling goosebumps across its surface, it took no violent action. Nips was alarmed. She wasn't used to have anything in the sky smarter than her, including humans. But this strange entity, both alive yet inanimate, unnatural yet spirit-infused, was curious indeed. Despite Root being comparted inside a creature with a telegraph-fast heartbeat and constant, rousing motion, she was still being pulled towards surrender. But then, as if her subconscious were splitting the workload of keeping her awake, Root was blasted with heightened feedback from Fella. Her range of smell widened almost painfully, as she caught notes of ionized air, other wet, wild mammals in the forest, some unknown emissions from the ship, and her own fear. "Woman, you stink when you're scared shitless," Root shouted to herself as she ran, trying desperately to stay awake. "Keep going, just keep going. I know it seems like forever, but it's not. It's—" As she turned her head in slow motion to check on Fella, he let out a deep, commanding "Haroof." That bark hit harder than the thunder and soul shield combined. Root could actually see the raindrops quiver as they descended, Fella's voice affecting the water's quantum properties as it passed through. His doggy version of "Hey, I gotcha," plucked a heartstring, and Root was just about to start crying when